Penguin Random House Audio presents The Resilient Leader, Life-Changing Strategies to Overcome Today's Turmoil and Tomorrow's Uncertainty, by Perakis, Esquire. Read for you by Kirsten Potter. Prologue. How did I get here? All you need in this life is ignorance and confidence, and then success is sure. Mark Twain. Many of us have encountered a Category 5 storm, whether the storm is launching and growing a business, drowning in debt, having the roof blow off a relationship, or actual flooding in the streets. Even prior to the calamitous events that inspired the resilient leader, I was no stranger to extreme Category 5 level events, starting, growing, and expanding 10 businesses of my own, helping hundreds of others do the same on 5 continents, navigating boats across oceans and enduring heartbreak, extreme financial distress, and several other natural disasters like devastating earthquakes and fires are the kinds of storms I have grown adept at weathering. Despite my experiences with natural and other disasters, I never gave much thought to hurricanes before moving to the Caribbean. I'm from California, where people move for the weather. I've had a lot of experience and training in navigating the elements. I was a professional rescuer on the mountains and at sea, a 100-ton boat captain responsible for steering people through all kinds of weather and potential actual disaster. I also spent my career guiding others through their own business challenges as a lawyer, strategic business advisor, entrepreneur, and C-suite executive. I was confident I could handle anything. Then I found myself all alone in the middle of the most powerful storm to ever strike the Atlantic basin. It was tearing relentlessly through the British Virgin Islands, my adopted island nation. In those first terrifying moments, I had to wonder, what in the world am I doing here, alone in this storm? I should have had a better plan for my own life's catastrophes. Everything I thought I could rely on was blown away with my roof. I had to reinvent who I was to survive. In the darkest hours of the first hurricane experience, I grasped that my tendency to isolate myself when things were tough or uncomfortable kept me behind an impervious wall that jeopardized my life in the storm. I am certain that there are others who find themselves disempowered, isolated, mindlessly going it alone in their own Category 5 storms. I want to share with you the tools I uncovered to thrive, no matter what challenges you face. No one should ever be buried alive by circumstances beyond their control. Our salvation, competence, confidence, and empowerment to get through, as I discovered the hard way, depend on the ability to become our own rescuer, a storm warrior. Anyone who has experienced the storms of life, business, money, career, family, or natural disasters is a Cat 5 survivor. Becoming a storm warrior is the difference between being a victim and using these forces to flourish. My habitual behavior put my life in danger in that first hurricane. I was defenseless against its power. With the storm's grip on me and the darkness, trapped in my shelter, I could either give up or learn from my mistakes, so I and others would never find themselves alone in a Category 5 storm. Once the winds died down, leaving me to fend for myself in a post-apocalyptic landscape, I discovered what it would take to get me through the experience to thrive. I learned how being of service could turn strangers into community, as well as how critical communication was to my survival. Most of all, I came to accept that I could not handle a Category 5 situation alone. I had to learn how to ask for help fast, because a second Cat 5 hurricane hit exactly 2 weeks later. In the aftermath, I turned the most terrifying and traumatic experience of my life into one that allowed me to flourish on my island for those months and beyond. My world changed forever. I've often been asked, why did you stay? On some level, I knew that being on island was purposeful. Although my first answer was always, I felt fully prepared, I couldn't explain it beyond that. Being there, I could protect my property prior to, during, and in the aftermath of the storms. I thought, how bad could it get? I had the gold standard of hurricane protection, galvanized metal panels screwed into the walls of the building with concrete screws to cover my windows and doors. I'd been offshore in gale-force winds before. I wasn't afraid of weather, especially considering my preparedness. I am, after all, a lifelong mariner. The storm was only a Category 3 at the time the ports were closing, a far less dangerous scenario than its arrival. I'd been in other life-threatening situations. It was my role in life to navigate others to safety in their lives and their businesses. I had no idea that all the predicting, planning, and preparation in the world wouldn't be enough. I had to become my own rescuer. While you may never have endured a Category 5 hurricane, undoubtedly you have, or you will, face an extreme Cat 5 event, from other natural disasters to the many storms of life, death, business, relationships, career, money, and anything in between that can render you feeling helpless and uncertain of your survival. Master the 7 barometers of resilience introduced in the following chapters to become your own storm warrior and prosper in the aftermath of any storm. And once the storm is over, you won't remember how you made it through, how you managed to survive. You won't even be sure, in fact, whether the storm is really over. But one thing is certain. When you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. That's what this storm's all about. Haruki Murakami, Kafka on the Shore. Part 1. The Storm Warrior. Only to the extent that we expose ourselves over and over to annihilation can that which is indestructible be found in us. Pema Chodron. Introduction. Trapped in a wind coffin. And in sleep, pain, which cannot forget, falls drop by drop upon the heart, until in our own despair, against our will, comes wisdom through the awful grace of God. Aeschylus. The British Virgin Islands, BVI, rest smack dab in the middle of Hurricane Alley, the warm water region from the west coast of North Africa up through the Gulf Coast of the southern United States. Hurricane season is a fact of life for many longtime residents of Hurricane Alley. I loved Tortola, the island where the BVI's capital, Road Town, is located. I was always grateful for my hilltop home there, with its 180-degree view of the islands nestled in the Caribbean Sea, and Sir Francis Drake Channel, named after the famous circumnavigator. As a lifelong sailor, I felt connected to the early explorers as I looked out over the same waters that they had sailed to discover the New World. September 6th, 2017, was another day in paradise in the BVI, cloudy but beautiful. It was surreal that a monster storm was coming. Powerful beyond our imagination, it would leave its indelible mark on all of us. The Saffir-Simpson Hurricane Wind Scale has 5 categories. The highest on the scale is Category 5, with wind speeds above 156 miles per hour. The other categories are separated by only 20 miles per hour of wind speed, but the difference in power and energy is exponential, the square of the difference. So a Category 4 is 250 times more powerful than a Category 3, and a Category 5 is 500 times more powerful than a Category 4. During Hurricane Irma, wind instruments on Tortola were destroyed when the winds exceeded 185 miles per hour, and winds were clocked above 200 miles per hour. That's why Sir Richard Branson, the business mogul who owns 2 private Caribbean islands, called Irma a Category 7 hurricane after riding out the storm on his Necker Island. Comparably, Hurricane Maria, that struck Puerto Rico 2 weeks later, and Hurricane Michael the following year were only Category 4 hurricanes. Michael was later reclassified as a Category 5 due to more accurate wind reading information that tipped the scale. Hurricanes are a swirling, cylindrical column of wind. The first round, or wall, comes on from one side. Then there's a strikingly calm period in the eye of the storm before the onslaught of the second wall approaching from the other side. The circumference of Irma measured as large as the state of Ohio, and it was powerful enough to register on the Richter scale. So, I was alone in my shelter as the winds built steadily that morning. My windows and sliding glass entry doors were covered and protected, except for one set of hurricane-grade windows high above the ground and concealed by dense foliage. I was blissfully ignorant, feeling safe and secure sitting in my fortress.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?